Sunday is coming. And for Arsenal Football Club, it is not just another Premier League match. It is the kind of game that players dream about, that managers prepare their entire careers for, and that supporters remember for decades. Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. Title on the line. Injuries mounting. Questions everywhere. And yet the mood inside the Arsenal camp is not one of fear. It is one of hunger. Let me set the scene for you right now, because the picture emerging from everything we know heading into this fixture is absolutely fascinating. In the last 5 meetings between these two clubs, Arsenal have lost just once. Look at the record carefully. Arsenal won 1-0 in 2023 to 2024. Then came a goalless draw in the same season. The following campaign brought a 2-2 draw, and then one of the most stunning results in recent Premier League history, Arsenal dismantling Manchester City 5-1. And in the most recent meeting this very season, a 1-1 draw at the Emirates. That is a record that tells a story. That is a record that says Arsenal, under Mikel Arteta, have found a way to compete with and frequently beat the team that dominated English football for years. The evidence is right there. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal have been too good for Manchester City across these 5 matches. That is not a boast. That is simply what the numbers show. Now let us talk about what is actually at stake here, because this is where the story becomes truly gripping. The Opta supercomputer ran 10,000 simulations of this exact match. 10,000, and the results are remarkable. Manchester City were given a 37.7% chance of winning the game. Arsenal were given 35.8%. And a draw sits at 26.5%. So the game itself is almost too close to call. City are slight favourites on the day, but only just. However, and this is the part that every Arsenal supporter needs to hear clearly, the title picture does not flip dramatically even if City win on Sunday. If Arsenal win, their Premier League title chances shoot up to 98%. If the game ends in a draw, Arsenal still hold an 81% chance of winning the league. And even in the worst-case scenario, a Manchester City victory, Arsenal remain the title favourites at 69%. City would only hold 31% in that scenario. The reason for this is clear. The average strength of Arsenal's remaining opponents is lower than the opponents Manchester City still have to face this season. So even if City take 3 points on Sunday, they are not out of the woods. Arsenal simply have a more manageable path to the finish line. That context matters enormously. This is not a must-win for Arsenal in the mathematical sense, but in the psychological sense, in the momentum sense, in the statement sense, it is absolutely massive. If you want deeper analysis on stories like this, analysis that goes beyond the headlines and actually breaks down what is really happening at clubs like Arsenal, then hit that subscribe button right now. Join the Jessica Arsenal analyst community and make sure you never miss a video. Let us now go through every key element of this story, piece by piece, because there is a lot to unpack here. The injury situation. First, the injury picture, because this is where the tension is most real heading into Sunday. Arsenal are going into the biggest game of their season with serious concerns across the squad. Let me go through them one by one. Noni Madueke picked up an injury against Sporting. Initial reports suggested it could be a knee injury, and the uncertainty around a knee always creates worry. Return date unknown were the words being used. That is never a comfortable situation for any club. However, the more recent update is actually far more positive than first feared. The early diagnosis indicates that Madueke has avoided a serious injury. It is being described as a dead leg rather than structural knee damage. Arsenal medical staff will continue to assess him over the coming days, but there is genuine optimism that he will be fit to face Manchester City. That is a significant relief, and it changes the conversation around Arsenal's attacking options considerably. Now let us talk about Bukayo Saka, because this is the one that is causing the most anxiety among the Arsenal fan base, and for good reason. Saka has not been ruled out of making the trip to Manchester, but the situation is described as an uphill battle. He is believed to be suffering from Achilles tendinopathy. For those who do not know what that means, it is an overuse injury affecting the Achilles tendon, and it is the kind of problem that requires very careful management. The concern here is significant. If his recovery is rushed, there is a real risk that Saka could be ruled out for the remainder of the season entirely. That is the line that has been communicated, and it cannot be understated. Arsenal rushing their best player back into a high-intensity match at the Etihad when his Achilles is not fully ready could cost them far more than just one game. The medical team and the manager will be making an extremely difficult decision here. The most optimistic timeline placed his potential return around the 19th of April, which is the date of the City match, but the risk attached to that return makes it far from straightforward. Martin Ødegaard has provided a more reassuring update. The Arsenal captain sustained a knee niggle against Sporting, but he himself has described the injury as appearing minor. His words were direct and filled with determination. He said he caught it a little bit against Sporting, but hoped it would not be too bad. More importantly, he stated that he is desperate to get back as soon as possible because this is the crucial period of the season in the Premier League and the Champions League. That is the mentality of a captain who understands the moment. Ødegaard is expected to be fit for the City clash, and that is a major boost for Arsenal. Riccardo Calafiori has been another player managed carefully due to fitness concerns. But sources close to the Italian defender have indicated he has a chance of returning from injury in time for Sunday. He is described as likely available, and if he can contribute, even from the bench, that adds depth to Arsenal's defensive options at a crucial time. And then there is Jurrien Timber, who has missed recent games. What makes Timber's situation genuinely exciting is what he said when asked directly about his availability for the Etihad trip. He refused to rule himself out. His exact words to journalists in the mixed zone were, "I cannot say, but you will see on Sunday." That kind of answer, measured, confident, with just enough mystery, tells you that Timber believes he has a genuine chance of being there. A player who knows he definitely cannot make it does not speak like that. He says he is unavailable and moves on. Timber is leaving the door open, and that is significant. The one piece of bad news that is definitive is Mikel Merino. He is recovering from surgery and is likely out for the rest of the season. That is a confirmed absence and a real blow for the squad depth, particularly given how important Merino had been expected to be during this run of matches. What the players are saying. Beyond the injury updates, the mood and the voice coming out of the Arsenal dressing room is something worth examining very carefully. Declan Rice has spoken ahead of this fixture, and his words carry weight. He was direct about the recent performances, acknowledging that Arsenal have made too many errors in previous weeks, referencing the games against Bournemouth and Sporting specifically. He pointed to simple things going wrong, 5- and 10-yard passes given away sloppily, a lack of confidence on the ball, players feeling under pressure in moments where they should be calm and assertive. He said it is about doing the basics a little bit better, relaxing on the ball, not feeling under pressure. That kind of self-awareness from a senior player is important. It suggests the squad knows exactly what has been wrong, and the awareness of the problem is the first step toward fixing it. But what made Rice's comments genuinely powerful was the follow-up statement. He said, and these are his words, "We are going to Manchester to win." To make a statement, "I know these boys are ready. We have spoken as a group. We know what is required. Bring it on." That is the voice of a leader. That is a player who is not hiding from the pressure of the occasion. He is walking toward it. And when your midfield general speaks with that kind of clarity and conviction, it tells you something real about the mood inside the camp. And there is more. Former Arsenal midfielder Jorginho has offered a message to the current squad that is worth highlighting. His advice was simple but powerful. Forget about the last few years, because thinking about it only adds pressure. Focus on how strong you are in the position you are in right now. Believe in yourselves. That message, coming from someone who has experienced pressure at the highest level, is exactly the kind of perspective a squad needs in moments like this. It is a mindset message. It is about not being weighed down by history, by the near misses, by the seasons where the title was so close and then slipped away. The message is clear. Be present. Be strong. Trust the process. The Arteta question. Now let us address the elephant in the room, because no honest analysis of Arsenal right now can avoid it. There are questions being asked about Mikel Arteta's future at the club, and they are not going away. David Ornstein, one of the most reliable and respected journalists covering Arsenal, has spoken directly about the situation. His assessment is nuanced and needs to be read carefully. Ornstein has stated that Arsenal want Arteta to continue into next season and beyond. That is the intention. That is the direction of travel. The club believes in their manager. But, and this is a significant but, Ornstein also made clear that if things go badly for Arsenal between now and the summer, there will be some very difficult conversations. He went further, saying it would be naive to say he cannot see a world in which Arteta departs. The phrasing there is important. Ornstein is not saying Arteta is going. He is saying the intention is for him to stay. But he is also being honest enough to acknowledge that outcomes between now and the end of the season will matter enormously. There is a lot riding on the weeks ahead. That is the reality. Rio Ferdinand has entered this debate as well, offering a perspective that asks Arsenal fans to think carefully before demanding a managerial change. Ferdinand reminded supporters of where Arsenal were before Arteta arrived. He pointed out that the club is now consistently qualifying for the Champions League, which was not the case before his appointment. He noted that Arsenal are finishing second most of the time and fighting for the Premier League title year in, year out. Ferdinand's message was direct. Be careful what you wish for, because a managerial change offers no guarantee of improvement. That is a fair point, and it is one rooted in evidence. The transformation of Arsenal under Arteta is real and measurable. The question being asked is not whether he has done a good job in building the club. The question is whether this particular squad in this particular moment has the ceiling to win a major trophy. And that is a harder question to answer. What the pundits are saying. Jamie Carragher has been very vocal about Arsenal's limitations, and his comments deserve serious analysis rather than dismissal. Carragher said he is not sure Arsenal have the quality in the attack to compete at the very highest level. He specifically referenced the Champions League and the performance against Sporting as evidence. His argument is straightforward. You cannot win the Champions League without a star in the front four, and in his view, Arsenal do not have one. He acknowledged that he originally tipped Arsenal to win the competition, but said he no longer believes it. Now, it is important to note that this is Carragher's opinion and analysis, not a confirmed fact. But his point about attacking quality is consistent with what has been observed this season. The reliance on collective effort rather than individual brilliance in the forward line has worked well in many games, but against elite opposition in knockout football, that gap becomes more visible. Martin Keown has added another layer to the Champions League conversation by addressing Arsenal's potential next opponents. Keown expressed a preference for Arsenal to face Bayern Munich rather than Paris Saint-Germain, and his reason was specific. He said Paris Saint-Germain's pace is ridiculous, and that is why he would still prefer Arsenal to play Bayern. It is a revealing comment because it tells you something about how people are assessing Arsenal's strengths and vulnerabilities. Pace and directness in transition is a genuine challenge for this Arsenal side, and facing a Paris Saint-Germain team built around that kind of speed would be a serious test. The transfer picture. Now let us look briefly at what is being discussed in terms of Arsenal's summer transfer activity, because the plans being made right now will shape whether this squad can take the next step. David Ornstein has confirmed that Arsenal want an attacker this summer. That is not a rumour. That is confirmed intent. The names that have been mentioned as players Arsenal have liked include Anthony Gordon, Bradley Barcola of Paris Saint-Germain, and Julian Alvarez. Ornstein was careful to note that nothing is firm at present, and it is important to stress that these are players Arsenal have had interest in, not confirmed targets or agreed deals. Everything in this space remains in the early stages. What is clear is that the club recognises the need for improvement in the attacking positions. The acknowledgement that Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli have struggled for consistency this season has created a clear need for an upgrade on the left side of attack. The most exciting name that had been circulating was Khvicha Kvaratskhelia of Paris Saint-Germain. The Georgian winger is widely regarded as one of the best wingers in the world, and Arsenal supporters had been understandably excited by the links. However, the reality is that this move is extremely unlikely. Ornstein himself has stated that he fully expects Kvaratskhelia to remain at Paris Saint-Germain. The player appears extremely happy at the French club, and the club is equally happy with him. Ornstein's assessment was blunt. Arsenal or anyone else does not have a chance at the moment. Kvaratskhelia only joined Paris Saint-Germain just over a year ago, which makes a transfer even more complicated. It is a rumour that generated enormous excitement, but the honest analysis is that Arsenal should be focusing their attention elsewhere. Barcola, Kvaratskelia's Paris Saint-Germain teammate, has emerged as a more realistic alternative. He has been linked with a move to Arsenal, and while he is not quite at the same level as Kvaratskhelia, the view being expressed is that he would be a quality addition to the Arsenal forward line if a deal could be structured. The Ethan Nwaneri concern. One story that has not received as much attention as it deserves is the situation surrounding Ethan Nwaneri, who is currently on loan at Marseille. Reports from France, via the publication L'Équipe, have raised concerns about Nwaneri's attitude while on loan. These reports suggest that attitude concerns may have influenced Marseille manager Habib Bey's decision to leave the young Arsenal player out of recent squads. Nwaneri has not started a game in 2 months under Bey, which for a player of his age and potential on a development loan is a troubling sign. L'Équipe used the phrase persistent impression of nonchalance to describe how Nwaneri has been perceived. There is also an interesting financial dimension here. His loan deal is reportedly structured in a way where Marseille pay less the more minutes he plays. Despite that financial incentive working against him getting minutes, the manager is still choosing not to start him. That tells you the issue is not purely about money or squad management. There appears to be a genuine concern about the player's approach and attitude. For a young player with Arsenal's backing and a big future ahead of him, this is a moment that requires serious reflection and response. So let us bring all of this together, because the picture that emerges from everything we have gone through today is rich and complicated. Arsenal are heading into the most important league game of their season, carrying injuries, facing questions about their manager's future, hearing doubts about their attacking quality from pundits, and dealing with a lone player situation that has raised eyebrows in France. On the surface, that sounds like a club under pressure, but the evidence also tells a different story. The head-to-head record against Manchester City under Arteta is exceptional. The Opta projections confirm that Arsenal are the Premier League title favourites in every single outcome scenario, including a City win on Sunday. The dressing room voice, represented by Declan Rice, is one of defiance and readiness. The captain, Martin Ødegaard, is desperate to be on that pitch and is expected to be available. Key players like Calafiori and potentially Timber could return. And even Madueke's injury situation has improved significantly from the first alarming reports. This is a squad that has been here before. Not exactly here, not this precise moment, but in the pressure, in the expectation, in the weight of what a title run-in demands. And what the evidence suggests is that this group of players, led by this manager, in this season have built something real and durable. Sunday at the Etihad will be a defining moment. Not the only moment, but a defining one. The situation for Arsenal is not one of crisis. It is one of opportunity. The chance to make a statement. The chance to show that the progress of the last few years has produced a team capable of winning when it matters most. Declan Rice said it best. Bring it on. That is your full analysis for today. Thank you for watching Jessica, Arsenal Analyst. If you have not already subscribed, please do so now. Hit the like button if you found this breakdown useful, and leave a comment below telling me what you think the final score will be at the Etihad on Sunday. I will see you in the next video.